Well, it's too wet to do anything outside today, and for those of you that don't have to deal with Florida humidity, 50 degrees doesn't seem that cold, but when you live in Florida, let's just say that 50 degrees is too cold to sell ice cream today. So I figured this would be a good time, get something done on the stupid truck. I'm Johnny Mac, and this is my garage, where we never get anything right on the first try. Join me as we work on super cool projects around the garage. Go to car shows and cruise-ins where we'll showcase classic cars and trucks, hot rods, rat rods, and mini trucks. Along the way, we plan to turn this 88 S10 into a show-worthy lowrider. We never know what's going to happen, but one thing's guaranteed. Sometimes you gotta tear it all down and start over. And that's what makes this the Wrong Way Garage. This video is brought to you by Hooters of Crestview, Florida. They didn't sponsor this, but almost a decade ago, they gave me a hoodie, and by God, it's coming in handy today. All right, so if you've not seen the rear end video, you might want to go back and watch that right about now, because we're going to pick up where we left off. Had a buddy of mine come over and help me take the bed off the stupid truck, set it to the side. The next step is to put this bracket under there. So that's our goal right now, and then we can move on to the final step. Torque back down to spec. I think that's about the right spec. So the next step on our rear end will be the strut rods. They adjust the camber on the independent rear suspension. Now, these are the factory strut rods. The bushings were shot, so I figured I needed to replace them. And when I bought this rear end off Facebook Marketplace, which was probably my first mistake, the guy told me it was a 78 rear end, and I ordered 78 parts. Now, these are brand new parts, but you can tell, let's see if I can hold that up. You can tell that is straight from end to end. Bushings are at 90 degrees from the, but this one is not. It has angles on both ends. So through A/B comparison and a little bit of research, we found out that this is actually an 82 rear end. That didn't really matter because we're gonna have to shorten this rod, and if we get to cut it, we might as well do the angle on it. It'll be fine. But Joe pointed out, see that little line right there? This is a cast piece of metal. Now, granted, professional welders know how and can weld cast metal properly, but we ain't got that kind of technology in my garage. So, back to the drawing board. I feel like this old Tony, all you're seeing is my hands. So I found out that the distance, the width of this matches the heim joints with the bushings on it. So that works out well. Got bungs for my heim joints. All I gotta do is weld the bungs into a piece of pipe. We're good to go. With one exception. This bushing, which is the same size as this bushing, goes into this piece on one end. Shock mounts here. This mounts to the bottom of the wheel unit, and that's how you adjust your camber, is by moving that wheel unit in and out. I say wheel unit, trailing arm. This is the bolt that holds the strut rod to the rear end. It's got 2 tabs. Move it forward and backward through a slot by rotating the bolt. Problem is, now GM's solution to that is this little thing here, which basically sits in there. It can't wobble around that way, and it fills the gap. One of these on each side, it'll fill the gap for the rear end. Well, that's all happy, fine, good on something that's this wide. But on a heim joint, you have 3 independent pieces. You put one of these on each end, the center's still wobbly. So the solution that we have is we're going to take this bolt on the rear end side, we're going to put this on it along with a spacer, just like it was designed. Then I've got a bushing, and I had to modify it a little bit to make it fit. It'll go into that spacer all the way up against the, I don't even know what that part's called. Then your heim joint can go on that bushing. Your other spacer, and then this piece there, and everything can go together just like that, and your heim joint will have its articulating movement. So that's where we're at. All I've really got to do at this point is locate my modify this bushing just a touch, and we'll be able to make it work just like this. I don't normally deal in thousandths of an inch. I might be old, but my name's not Tony. But I would like this to fit snug. Actually, I'd like it to fit kind of tight. Got the heim joints on the truck, got a piece of pipe to make our strut rods out of. Got the bungs, we just got to weld the bungs in a piece of pipe. Made a couple of welds to make sure that the welder was set to the proper voltage. Just got to put it together. We all know that you're not supposed to weld galvanized steel. That's why I'm grinding as much of it off as I can before I weld it. I'll make a milkshake later. I don't know. I ain't falling for that again. It's hot on both ends now. see me paint anything metal with spray paint, then there is a 90% chance I'm using Rust-Oleum. So you'll notice that I'm inserting the heim joints all the way into the shaft. Then I'm going to loosen the shaft back up and expand the length of it without letting either heim joint rotate. That way I have maximum adjustability on that shaft by virtue of a left hand and a right hand heim joint.
Irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, don't wait to contact your doctor, because these symptoms could be signs of a serious condition like atrial fibrillation, which could make you about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Your symptoms can mean something serious, so this is no time to wait. Talk to a doctor by phone, online, or in person. Is skin care?
Now, because this is just a mock-up, I didn't tighten anything up. I had 2 reasons for painting the strut bars. The first was so that I could get an idea of what it looked like in white versus black. And the other reason was just to keep rust off of it. So when it's all said and done, I think those are probably going to end up being black. I haven't decided about that yet, but that's where we're at. Once we get the spring shortened and installed, then the rear end will be done and we can move forward to something else. All right, so join us on the third part, I guess, of independent rear suspension, where we move to the suspension portion of it. Yeah. All that's left is we got to modify the spring and get it installed and say a few prayers.